So good evening, everybody. Once again, we are back with this day three of Civils Daily Answer Wars, and Daily Answer Wars Warzone Prime. So again, today in the morning, a question was given, and you were expected to write your answers in the Telegram group and post it in the Telegram group itself. So many of you have written the answers, and all of you are writing pretty well. And also, the peer review is going on very good. So I think that is one of the most important benefits of this initiative, which you should strive to continue. Now, again, coming to today's discussion, we will go for the same pattern. Like, first, we will discuss the question that was given in the morning, just a basic framework of what all was needed to be written in the answer. And then we will go to selected evaluation and feedback of certain number of copies. So, meanwhile, you can also ask your doubts in the chat box in the chat section. So the question today was basically the UN General Assembly adopted an India-sponsored resolution to mark 2023 as the International Year of Millets. Highlighting the benefits of millets, lists some government efforts to promote millet production in India. Now, millet has been in news pretty much because this India only sponsored this resolution to mark 2023 as the International Year of Millets. Also, pretty recently, like yesterday or day before yesterday, the Prime Minister also tweeted a photo of having a millet-based dinner or something in the Parliament House with many leaders attending it. So I think millet is one of the important topics for agriculture part of GS3 section in the next year mains. So now let us see what all we could have written in this answer. Since this is a 15 marker, so we have pretty decent enough scope to write many things. And also, like again, we will go for the same format, introduction, body, and then try to give a way forward and then conclude the answer. So now in introduction, what you can do is like this first line about UN General Assembly adopting this resolution, you can reinforce it by talking about how it was done and what are the objectives of doing this. Otherwise, I think this statement is pretty explanatory itself, so you need not go into that much details and come on directly to the to talk about millets. So introducing millets is also a very good idea. So you can just talk about what is millet and give some examples of millet to introduce your answer. For example, I have talked about millet only here. Millet is a common term to categorize small seeded grasses. So small seeded grasses is important here that are often termed nutri cereals or dry land cereals and include sorghum, pearl millet, ragi, small millet, foxtail millet, proso millet, barnyard millet, and kodo millet, among others. Now, this you could have also talked about the common name that is pearl millet. I think bajra and jawar are also millets, and you could have talked about them also. No need to write so many examples. 3 or 4 of them could have been enough. Next, I have talked about one linking statement about India. India is one of the largest producer of millets, and they are available almost across India. So, because millets can easily be grown, so it is one of the advantages of millets that it is available all across India. So, this was my pretty short and decent introduction. Next, I move on to the talking about the benefits of millets. Now, first and foremost, millets can help in tackling health challenges such as obesity, diabetes, and lifestyle problems. As we know that millets are low in this glycemic index, and since low glycemic index means the blood sugar problems are quickly avoided, so this obesity, diabetes, and all of this can be avoided if our diet is rich in millets. So as they are gluten free, have a low glycemic index, and are high in dietary fiber and antioxidants. So this you could have mentioned. Then I have talked about millets being nutri cereals that are highly nutritious and known to have high nutrient content, which includes protein, essential fatty acids, dietary fiber, B vitamins, and minerals such as calcium, iron, zinc, potassium, and magnesium. Next, millets can provide nutritional security also and protect against nutritional deficiency, especially among children and women. Now we know that women in India mostly suffer from anemia, like more than 50% women. So millets can again play a big role here by protecting women against nutritional deficiency. Now, the thing I was talking about, that climate smart millets are pretty climate smart cereals. Millets are hardier and drought resistant crops. They can grow in poor soil conditions with less water, fertilizer, and pesticides. They can also withstand high temperatures, making them the perfect choice as climate smart cereals. Now, these are very tough conditions for a single crop to meet, like less water, fertilizer, pesticides, along with withstanding high temperatures. And millets are one of those crops that meet all of these conditions. So it is always advantageous to grow millets. So next, I have talked about millets will also be critical for climate change measures in dry lands and important for small holder and marginal farmers. So they can just shift to millets and ensure sustainable production in their fields. So that was all about the benefits of millets. Next, I have mentioned the government efforts, as this question clearly demanded these two things, that benefits of millets and government efforts. So you had to mention two subsections on these two sections and talk about them in a bit of detail. Next, I have gone on to talk about the government efforts to promote millets production. So millets are being promoted through technology dissemination, quality seeds through millet seed hubs, awareness generation, minimum support price, and inclusion in PDS. So all of this has been done. MSP has been millet crops have been included in this MSP design. They're also included in the PDS system, and millet seed hubs, awareness generation are all being created. In fact, this International Year of Millets is also, you can say, an awareness generation initiative. Next, I have talked about efforts are now being done to include the nutrient-rich smaller millets in the midday meal schemes in government and government-aided schools in Karnataka and Telangana. So in these states, what they are doing is, in the midday meal schemes, they are trying to include the millets so that the kids can have nutrient-rich meals. Next, the Union Agriculture Ministry declared millets as nutri-cereals, considering their high nutritive value and also anti-diabetic property. So this has also been done recently only. Nutri-cereals, they have been declared as nutri-cereals because they are highly nutritious and anti-diabetic properties due to this low glycemic index. Next, I have also talked about this National Year of Millets. This thing I have just reinforced the statement given in the question. So 2018 was observed as the National Year of Millets, and the UN General Assembly adopted an India-sponsored resolution to mark 2023 as the International Year of Millets. So FAO basically approved this resolution, and 2023 has been decided to be marked as the International Year of Millets. Next, the Government of India's Millet Mission comes under the National Food Security Mission. So under this mission, there are pretty subsidiary missions, and one of them is this India's Millet Mission, which comes under this National Food Security Mission. And what does this mission do? So I have tried to explain that also a bit. The Center's Millet Mission will focus on developing farm gate processing and empowering farmers through collectives while focusing on value addition and aggregation of the produce. So basically, they will be helping and empowering the local farmers so that millets can be produced on a mass scale. So this was all about the government schemes. I think I have mentioned more than enough, 6-7 points. So I think that should be enough for a 15 marker answer also. Next, in this answer, we have the scope to write a way forward also and talk about what all could be done, whether these government efforts are sufficient or not, or if we can do something better. So I have gone for writing a way forward, and you can see that I have written 3-4 points, basic points only. So you could have also written this by innovating in the exam hall itself. So there is a need for developing a decentralized model of processing capabilities so that growers stand to benefit at a community level and in the growing regions. So this is about not depending on the central government solely, having a decentralized model so that even in at the regional level, the farmers can benefit from this processing facilities. Next is, there is a need to promote the production of more millets by providing price support to farmers, as there is not only a social dimension but also a nutritional and environmental aspect associated with these cereals. So basically, you can see that millets are good in all aspects, even in nutritional, environmental, all of these categories are met by millets. So most of the millets should be included in this MSP design, but still they are not included. So I have talked about including more millets in this price support design so that farmers can shift, especially the farmers in northwestern part of the country, can shift from rice and rice and wheat system to millet system, so that both environmentally and nutritionally we can benefit from it. Next, I've talked about promoting millets could help government save expenditure on health and nutrition. This will also prevent the out-of-pocket expenditure of the poor, because these are healthy alternatives to what the common people are having. So I think promoting millets is overall beneficial in that direction also. However, you can mention these points in latter part of your answer. Next, dedicated programs with proper training and capacity building initiatives that urge farmers to move away from loss-making crops towards diversification via millets can be a timely method to pull farmers away from the region's distress. So again, here I have talked about diversification of crops, and that can be done by making by giving proper training, capacity building, and especially raising awareness among the farmers, so that they can pull farmers away from the region's distress. Now you can also link this with farmer suicide and all, and say that that will help in preventing those things also. So that was basically the way forward for this answer. Next, I have gone on for writing the conclusion. So the awareness of the benefits of millets is still low, and this is the reason for the lesser number of players working on value-added millet products in India. So you can see that even after so many benefits, we still are lesser aware about millets. This is pretty quite evident. You must have realized about it. Like we are more focused on growing these water guzzling crops, and especially this rice and wheat system. So uh, that acts as a cautionary statement in my conclusion. And next, I have talked about efforts should be made to bring a change in consumer preferences and create proper market linkages for forest and agricultural produce. So only just increasing the supply side will not help, because if there is no demand, what will you do with the supply, or the government schemes or cheap supply in the market? So one more important thing is also to bring a change in consumer preferences, and this can be done through increasing the demand can be done through creating more awareness. And I think International Year of Millets is one of those steps. So I have talked about changing the consumer preferences, or you can also write by increasing demand and all, and create proper market linkages. You can talk about supply chain here instead of proper market linkages for forest and agricultural produce. So that was overall this answer, which you could have. This is basic framework of the answer which you could have written. You need not write exactly the same answer, but still, like your answer should have contained most of the points from this answer. Like if you are writing 3 4 points from each section of this answer, I think that should be a good decent answer for this question. So I think I will now move on to checking the copies for today and see how you all guys have written and what all improvements could have been made in the answer writing process. So Vivek, good evening. Nisha, good evening. Harji, good evening. So I move to Pooja's copy first. So let us see what she has written. Millet is a collective term referring to a number of small seeded annual grasses. So this is fine, like she has defined it well. Uh, that are cultivated as grain crops primarily on marginal lands in dry areas in temperate, subtropical, and tropical regions. So it is fine. Actually, basically, in millet can be grown all across India. So slowly, gradually, she has mentioned almost all regions, but still it is fine. Example: ragi, jowar, sama, bajra. So this is all good. India is the largest producer of millet in the world, accounts for 20% of global production and 80% of Asia's production. So this is also fine. India's proposal to observe IYM of 2023 was approved by FAO in 2018, and UNGA declared year 2023 as International Year of Millets. So this line is also fine, but I think this is not required here since you have already written so much in the introduction. So this unnecessarily lengthens the introduction, and also this line is already mentioned in the question itself. So you are not, giving nothing new in this. You can mention it in the government schemes and steps to increase or raise more awareness about millet production. In that part, you can mention this point rather than making your introduction longer. Next, we move on to the benefits of millets. So, nutritionally superior is a fine point. Millets are less expensive and nutritionally superior to wheat and rice. Okay, this is good. Millets are also rich in calcium and magnesium. Okay, fine. Millets can help in achieving food security and can provide nutritional security and act as a shield against nutritional deficiency, especially among children and women. This is also fine. High iron content can fight the high prevalence of. So, okay, but I think you are just mentioning one point only in 3 4 points. For example, in one point you are talking about rich in calcium and magnesium. Next, in one point you are talking about rich in iron. So all of this can be done in one point only, because if we go on those lines, you will need 10 12 points to write all the benefits. If we start writing one mineral wise. So better to finish these 4 points in at least two points should be enough. Next, this is fine. Gluten free and low glycemic index is good. Millets can help tackle lifestyle problems is fine. Super crop at growing. Millets are photoinsensitive and resilient to climate change and can grow on poor soils. This is also good. So you can also write this. Millets are considered as one of the super crops. So this is a good point, and you can mention it in your answers. Millets are less water consuming and are capable of growing under drought conditions, under non-irrigated conditions, even in very low rainfall regimes. Okay, so again, these two things are almost similar. Like you have talked about resilient to climate change, and next you have just explained that point here. Millets have low carbon and water footprint. This is okay, fine. Economic security, low investment for increase in production, I guess. Millets have anti-aging and oxidant, climate resilient. So there's, you can see, again you have written here climate resilient. So there is a pretty decent amount of repetition of points. So you can try to avoid that. No need to just like repeat points and increase it. Try to be more crisp and finish your answer in 6-7 points, and I think that should be enough. Finish your like one subsection in 6-7 points, and that should be good enough. But try to ensure that all of them are different, like different dimensions you are trying to cover. So this is fine. Next, we move on to the government efforts to promote millet production in India. This is fine. Initiative for nutritional security through intensive millet production, increase in MSP. Government has hiked MSP for millets, which came as big price intensive for farmers. I don't understand what you have written here. Big price intensive. Oh, incentive. I think it should be incentive. So input support. Government has introduced provision of seed kits and inputs to farmers, building value chains through IPO and supporting marketability of millets is also fine. This is again, so you have mentioned this in introduction also about 2018 being the year of national year of millets, and next you have mentioned here also. So you are so you can see here that you are doing repetition in most of the answers. So avoid doing that. Government has included millets in PDS and Poshan Abhiyan. This is fine. Millet Startup Innovation Challenge. Kerala State Agri Department Millet Village Scheme. This is okay. So here you can also talk about some other states, for example, states like Karnataka and Telangana, including millets in the midday meal schemes. Also, National Food Security Mission under that, as the Central Millet Mission can be talked about. So this is fine. It will help develop farm gate processing and empower farmers, FPOs. Thus, millets are considered to be powerhouses of nutrition in view of impact of climate change and government aim for climate smart agriculture. Millet deserves encouragement. So, okay, this is a decent answer. But what you have done is like you have repeated a lot of points and made it more unpresentable. So try to avoid doing that. Just to increase your content, you just not you need not start repeating your points. So try keeping them limited, but ensure that they are diverse points. For example, in both the benefits and government schemes, you can just mention five points each, but they should be different a bit. And try to, for example, here in this section you have mentioned about calcium, magnesium in 1 point, iron in point. All of this could be mentioned under 1 point only, and introduction could also have been made a bit shorter, like this line in the last could have been avoided, as you have again mentioned it in the government schemes. So I think out of 15 you will get 5.5 for this answer, Pooja. Next we move to Anirudh's copy. Millets are small seeded annual grasses that are cultivated as green crops, and they usually grow in temperate, subtropical and tropical regions. This is fine. Examples are also fine. Benefits of millets: high nutritional value is good. Help in health challenges is also good. Here you can mention like gluten free and low glycemic index. So those are the properties of millets, so should be mentioned. For example, here you have mentioned high fiber and antioxidants. Reduce the iron deficiency in women and children. This is okay. Resilient to climate change is also fine, unlike the rice and wheat. Okay. So this is decent enough benefits. Steps taken by the government. Center's Millet Mission. You can talk that this is under the National Food Security Mission. India's Millet Mission. It is also fine, including millets in midday meal schemes. This is good. Increasing awareness in urban centers. Okay, here you can just talk a bit about this International Year of Millets and National Year of Millets, as the question in the first line mentions it. So try giving a bit of space to that part also. You can talk about that 2018 was declared as the National Year of Millets, and then on that basis again we we sponsored a resolution, and the UNG, FAO and UNG approved to make 2023 as the International Year of Millets. Also, I think you can just mention a way forward here. Steps taken are fine, but way forward is missing. So I think rather than writing a long conclusion, you can first mention a way forward. In the way forward, again, you can talk about increasing awareness and all, like those points that I have mentioned in the beginning of the session. Those things you can mention in the way forward. Next, given the recent conditions like the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukraine-Russia war, the food sector was widely affected all over the world. India, having very favorable conditions for the growth of millets, must make use of this opportunity and help world in increasing food security. Okay, but this conclusion is, I will say, a bit more broad. Like you can just restrict its scope a bit. First, we need to improve our own production of millets and make us secure, and then we can go on to talk about the food security. And you have tried to include further dimensions like Ukraine Russia war, COVID-19, so you can do this, but I will say that better to stick to millets only. Like you can just talk about the cautions and then give an optimistic solution that we need to increase our both awareness and demand and all, so that millet production can pick up in the country itself. And since I think you have written decent answer, points are fine, but the way forward could have been mentioned, and some of the schemes could also have been increased. So I think you will get 4.5 out of 15 in this answer, Anirudh. Next, we move to Pallav's copy. One of the first plants to be domesticated for food, millet is a broad term used to refer to a member of small seeded annual grasses that are cultivated as grain crops. India Association Millets goes as far back as IBC. It was on the basis of yes that UNG adopted. It is fine, but you can include some examples here. For example, here after talking about small seeded annual grass, if you need to remember nothing, especially when talk about bajra, jawar, ragi, and all of those, that those are pretty common examples, and so you can mention those. Advantage of millets: economic, cheap to grow as millets requires little irrigation, fertilizer. This is fine. Millets have witnessed a continuous rise. Okay, MSP on certain millets. Okay, environmentally drought resistant and wide variety, low impact on water table environment. Health and nutrition is okay, fine. Rich source of key minerals and vitamins, high in dietary fiber. Social impact is also fine, promoting diversity on the field and the table, empowering villages. So this is a good attempt, I will say, because you have just divided it into subsections, and I think certainly that adds to the look of the answer. Next, government efforts towards millet promotion. This is okay. Nutritional security through intensive millet promotion. Okay. Millets included integrated in Poshan Abhiyan is also fine. National food security. Here you can mention the millet mission after NFSM. MSP on millets raised is also fine. Aiding 500 plus odd startups associated with the millet. Value chains primarily in areas of processing and value addition. This is also okay. R&D on millets. This is fine. You have mentioned a lot of schemes. I think that is more than sufficient. Way forward is also good. Programs for skilling farmers. Spending the millets, increasing expenditure on R&D for millets. India has been serious about onboarding millets on its plates as evidenced by National Year of Millets. Okay, and the plethora of government initiatives and schemes. Millets are the apt response to the food security crisis. This line can be avoided. First line, this unnecessarily extends your conclusion. You can just begin from here. Millets are the apt response to the food security crisis brought about by climate change and can help meet SDG goals such as no poverty, zero hunger, good health, and response. Okay, fine. So I think good answer overall. This you have covered most of the dimensions of the answer. Structuring is also good, and a lot of government schemes and all have also been mentioned. So I think you will be getting good marks for this answer if you are able to present it in this manner in the exam hall. So I think you will be getting 6 out of 15 at least in this answer. Next, we move to Nisha's copy. India's proposal to observe an international year of millets was approved by FAO in 2018. The UN General Assembly has declared the year 2023 here. This is also decent. You can take this approach, like just explaining the first statement a bit in detail. But I think better will be to introduce something about millets, because you can just talk about, give some examples at least कि what are millets, क्या क्या millets हैं, important millets तो बता दीजिए, ताकि examiner knows that this person knows about millets, just not trying to write in air and all. Benefits of millets is fine, nutritionally superior is okay, health benefits, this is also good, sustainable agriculture is fine, environmental friendly is also fine. So again, here you can mention the economic benefits also. For example, including in MSP, giving an alternative income to farmers and all. So that can also be mentioned here. Otherwise, these points that you have mentioned are fine. Government efforts, okay, this is okay. Increase in MSP is fine. Input support is also fine. No, no, I think you need to mention some more schemes here, because this is one of the core demands of the question. And for example, especially the midday meal scheme and or national food security mission, those things could be mentioned here. Otherwise, these two, three things are also fine. So overall, then it will be okay. Challenges are not required here. Challenges is not asked, so no need to write that. You can just, after talking about government schemes, move on to the way forward. Way forward is good. Decentralized model, market accessibility, input support, awareness through digital media. This is all fine. Millets can be a timely method to pull farmers away from the region's distress. Dedicated programs, proper. Okay, so this is also good. This is a pretty futuristic conclusion, so that will be fine. So some marks will be deducted here for not writing the government schemes a bit better, and some points are missing in this part also. So both of those will result in deduction of some marks. Overall, introduction and all is fine. What you could have just is written one line about millets rather than just talking about superfoods. You could have mentioned what are millets and given some two or three examples. So that would have been better, I guess. But still, I think you have written a decent answer, and you will get 5 out of 15 for this answer, I think, Nisha. Some points, if you could have written more, you would have got a bit better marks. Next, we move to Chinese copy. India's proposal to other international year of millets into 2023 was approved by FAO in 2018 and UNGA declared the year. Okay. So I was talking about this only. Nisha, you can see here. For example, she has also just mentioned about IYM, but then she has gone on to talk about some of the examples of millets, so that the examiner knows what are the like the candidate knows what are millets and knows some of its examples also. Objectives here are not much required because this is already a long introduction, I'll say, decent enough introduction. So after that, no need to lengthen your introduction so much. Inspire stakeholders. This is all fine, but not really required. What you can do is mention one or two objectives when you talk about the government schemes. For example, when you talk about what all government has done, so you can talk about this IYM National Year of Millets and mention that they were taken to raise the awareness and improve the sustainable production, rather than talking here and lengthening your introduction. Benefits nutritionally superior is fine. Ragi has okay. Ensures food security is also fine. Safety from diseases is also okay. Economic security, climate resilient. Biofuel studies conducted in MP showed that bioethanol can be created. So this is an innovative point which you guys can add in your answers, rest of you. So me basically benefits you had to mention three dimensions. That was this health and nutritional dimension, next environmental dimension, and economic dimension. If you mentioned these three dimensions, more than enough it was for your benefits. After that, you could have written some innovative points. For example, as he has talked here about biofuel being a good source of fodder and all. So these were some extra points which you could have mentioned. But those three things, those three dimensions were to be compulsorily mentioned in the benefits. Next, government efforts. This is fine. Increase in MSP is also okay. Input support is also fine. Year 2000. So here only you can talk about increasing awareness and all. For example, the thing you have mentioned in the objectives after introduction. So here you can integrate it. Otherwise, same thing has been repeated there also. Again, you are mentioning it here also. So that is no use repeating the same points again and again. Apart from this International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD supported initiative to revive millets cultivation. This is also okay. Way forward, good that you have gone for the way forward, hiking MSP, dedicated programs, decentralized models. So all of these are good. As the government sets to achieve its agenda of malnutrition-free India and doubling farmers' income, the promotion of production and consumption of millet seems to be a policy shift in the right direction. So this is also fine. Futuristic conclusion could have been a bit better. Just you could have mentioned what all deficiencies are there, especially like increasing the demand and awareness. Those two are one of the two important points which the government need to consider to increase the millet production. Otherwise, this is also a decent conclusion. So overall, all the points are mentioned and the answer is pretty good, but some extra things have been written which could have been avoided, but still a pretty good answer. I think you will get 6.5 out of 15 for this answer, Saini. Next, we move to Vivek's copy. United Nations dedicated 2023 in some, I think there is a grammatical issue in this statement. United Nations dedicate 2023 in producing millets is not looking good. So try to write coherent sentences in the introduction, because the first thing that the examiner reads in your copy is the introduction. So it should not put him off, put him or her off. So write small sentences, short ones. There's no need to like write very big sentences. You can just mention that India had sponsored a resolution and UNG has approved it, because that was mentioned in the question itself. So there was nothing to innovate in that also. Objectives, again, you have gone for the objectives. Let us see what you have written in government schemes. One thing you could have done here is talking about millets first. Give some examples, like 2 3 examples of millets and define millets. That would have been better. Next you could have mentioned about this International Year of Millets and all. Otherwise, this is decent, but I think if you have not repeated again this in government schemes, then it will be good. But otherwise, you will not mention the objectives here. Millets and their benefits. So, okay, here you have defined it. This could have been done in the introduction itself. Health benefits are fine. Cardiovascular health, onset of diabetes, nutritional content. You could here talk about some of the minerals that are present in the millets and which are important from in Indian point of view for our health security issue. For example, iron, calcium, you could have mentioned them here. Otherwise, these are fine. And some of the properties like low glycemic index, gluten free, those things could be mentioned to enrich this part a bit. Next, environmental benefits are fine. Millets are hardy crops. Okay. So this is good. You have tried to draw a map and shown this. 37% of India's total, okay, is very suitable for millet cultivation. There are drought resistance. This is fine. Economic benefit, required low investment for inputs, that is fertilizers. Okay. May improve India's ranking, global hunger index, increasing. So India's ranking in global hunger index, how is this an economic benefit? You can talk about linking it to like reducing the out-of-pocket expenditure of the poor in India, or expenditure on procuring paddy and wheat. So those things you can mention here rather than just talking about ranking. Just improving the ranking is not an economic benefit. So this is fine. Increasing MSP of millets may increase income of farmers. This is okay. So in this part, I think you could have just talked about health benefits a bit better, given some properties, talked about some minerals. Otherwise, this is decent enough. Next, government efforts in millet production decline. Okay, so again, you see that you have again here mentioned about National Year of Millets. Here only you can talk about the International Year of Millets also and give some objectives as your linking points. For example, you can talk about increasing awareness, sustainable production. No need to write objectives separately. Just in introduction, you can define millets and mention that 2023 has been declared as the International Year of Millets, and that should be fine. Millets have also been included under Potion Mission campaign. This is good under National Food Security Mission. So okay, Raftar increase MSP for millets is also fine. They proposed to the millets. Some state-specific examples could be mentioned in this part. For example, that Karnataka, Telangana example and all those things could have been mentioned in this part, because they are not exactly asking just about central government but overall government efforts. Okay, so way forward could have been added here. Way forward is missing, and otherwise then you have moved on to conclusion. Acknowledging the multidimensional benefits of millets, more efforts are needed in R&D work. cuisines based on millets in modern food habits, etc. So this is fine. Again, you have just talked about increasing demand only, but in a different way. But still, it is very good. Conclusion is fine. You have just missed the way forward that could have been mentioned, and some of the points that I have told earlier. For example, writing some health benefits in a better way and improving this introduction part will lead you to some better marks in this answer. But still, decent answer content is good. I will say you should get 5 out of 15 in this answer, Vivek. Next, we move to research copy. 2023 has been declared as the International Year of Millets by UN as a proposal by India. ठीक है, लेकिन मिलेट्स को थोड़ा सा डिफाइन करिए, क्या है मिलेट्स, ये तो बताइए एग्जामिनर को. जस्ट इंटरनेशनल ईयर ऑफ मिलेट्स ये तो दिया ही हुआ है क्वेश्चन में, सो देयर इज नथिंग न्यू यू आर टेलिंग हियर. Talk about what are millets, some examples of millets, that will be good. Superfood ठीक है. Less input, doesn't require much water, high in fiber. तो इसको थोड़ा अरेंज करिए ना, जैसे आप यहाँ सुपर फूड बोल रहे हैं हाई इन न्यूट्रिशनल वैल्यू और यहाँ हाई इन फाइबर बोल रहे हैं, तो पहले ये सब अगर जब आप ये लिख रहे हैं तो राइट दीज पॉइंट्स कोहेरेंटली, देन टॉक अबाउट इनपुट और एनवायरमेंटल बेनिफिट्स. so just like making it a house pouch is, you are knowing, मतलब आपको knowledge है, you know everything, but try to present it in an orderly manner that is like impresses the examiner a bit. जब न्यूट्रिशनल कंटेंट की बात कर रहे हैं तो पहले 2-3 पॉइंट जो भी आपको लिखना है उसके बारे में वो लिख लीजिए, फिर इनपुट के बारे में बात करिए, फिर एनवायरनमेंट के बारे में बात करिए, सो दैट विल बी बेटर. वही है, यू हैव मेंशन मोस्ट ऑफ द पॉइंट्स, बट वही मिक्स एंड मैच है, थोड़ा सा उसको थोड़ा इंप्रूव करना होगा रिसर्च. इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट्स थोड़ा सा डाल सकते हैं. यू हैव मिस्ड द इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट्स आई गेस, अदरवाइज दिस पार्ट इज डिसेंट. इनिशिएटिव्स बाय गवर्नमेंट टू प्रमोट मिलेट ठीक है. इंक्रीज इन एमएसपी, इंटेंसिव मिलेट प्रमोशन ठीक है. इंक्लूसिव पीडीएस भी ठीक है. ये भी ठीक है. मेरा स्टार्टअप इनोवेशन चैलेंज. कुछ स्टेट्स के एग्जांपल डाल सकते हैं इसमें. मिड डे मील स्कीम वाला जो हुआ था जिसमें मिलेट्स को इंक्लूड किया गया है, वो डाल सकते हैं. और नेशनल फूड सिक्योरिटी मिशन के बारे में बात कर सकते हैं आप यहाँ पे. ये मेजर प्रोड्यूसिंग एरिया लाइक सिर्फ साउथ इंडिया नहीं है, बहुत सारा पार्ट्स में है, सो यू कैन जस्ट इम्प्रूव दिस मैप अ बिट. थोड़ा सा देख लीजिए इस मैप में, बिकॉज मिलेट्स को का ज्यादा रिक्वायरमेंट है नहीं. दे आर नथिंग मच इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर मिलेट प्रोडक्शन. अगर soil quality थोड़ा डाउन भी है and if your inputs are a bit lower also millets can be grown, so that is one of the most important advantages of millets, so you can adjust the map a bit accordingly. challenges again was not required, so ठीक है. low consumer awareness ये सब तो लिख दिया आपने, पर जरूरत नहीं है यहाँ पे, because we will be talking about this in conclusion and all कि डिमांड बढ़ाने की जरूरत है, and international year of millet itself is something which has been done to increase the awareness and all. Way ahead, rationalize MSP design is fine. Include millet in eat right movement is also okay. Private sector should be encouraged to. तो इसका क्या मतलब है? Private sector should be encouraged to adopt millet. Like what are private sector supposed to do? Farmers will should grow ना. Private sector के बदले आप farmers की बात करिए यहाँ पे. Private sector तो processing कर सकता है. In view of impact of climate change and government aim for climate smart agriculture, millet is ठीक है. It can also help in providing nourishment to people across all income categories. ठीक है. So this is fine. Just you can invoke some SDGs and all to make it a bit better. थोड़ा keywords use करिएगा थोड़ा अच्छा हो जाएगा. बाकी still concept is fine of conclusion. So I think you got it. Most of the points मैंने बताया कि आपको कहाँ कहाँ actually your structuring and all is fine. So थोड़ा थोड़ा minor changes करने हैं आपको. जैसे ये ऑर्डरली वे में लिखना है, बेनिफिट्स इंट्रोडक्शन में थोड़ा सा डिफाइन कर देना है मिलेट्स को, कुछ एग्जांपल्स देने हैं, एंड देन इन दिस व्हाट आई टोल्ड, हाँ ये मैप को थोड़ा सा इंप्रूव करना है. और ये दिस मैप इज आल्सो नॉट ड्रॉन एट द राइट स्पॉट. ये गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स के नीचे आपने क्यों बनाया है इसको? यू कैन ड्रॉ इट इन द बिगिनिंग इटसेल्फ इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मिलेट प्रोडक्शन इन इंडिया एंड ऑल. चैलेंजेस लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है, वे फॉरवर्ड को भी थोड़ा सा इंप्रूव कर सकते हैं. सो आई थिंक यू गॉट इट. What I told, overall you will also get 5 out of 15 for this answer reserve. So I think that will be it for today, guys. I have tried to check some of the copies and give the feedback to you, And also, I have seen that most of you are doing the peer review thing in the Telegram group, and I think that is a very nice effort by you all. Keep on doing that. That will improve your answers as well as the answers of those whose answer you are reviewing. And also try to keep being consistent a bit. We will be coming with more rewards and incentives for those guys who are consistent on a longer basis. And again, in the night, we will be back with that night owl discussions. And after that, tomorrow again, we will take up a new topic. And also, we will try to move to other GS subjects also, GS 1 and GS 4 also slowly. So be ready with that. I will be giving questions from those topics also slowly tomorrow onwards. So that will be it for today. Again, we will meet tomorrow. And thank you very much for your participation and your enthusiasm.